Back in the 1980s, America wasn't just building trucks. It was building attitude on four wheels. This was a decade when trucks stopped being quiet work tools and started becoming loud symbols of power, freedom, and raw muscle. If you grew up in that era, you remember the sound before you saw them. Deep V8 growls echoing down dusty roads, boxy silhouettes filling the rearview mirror, and chrome flashing in the sun. These trucks weren't trying to be efficient. They were trying to be unforgettable. And today, you're about to step back into that world because these are the American trucks that didn't just survive the 80s. They defined it. Picture yourself in the early 1980s. Gas prices were settling down. America was expanding again. And people wanted vehicles that could work all week and still look tough parked outside a diner on Friday night. That's when the Ford F-Series truly began its reign. The 8th generation F-150 wasn't flashy, but it was honest. Thick steel body panels, squared-off lines, and engines that felt like they could pull a house off its foundation. You could get it with a straight 6 if you were practical, but most people went straight for the V8. It wasn't about numbers on paper. It was about how it made you feel when you pressed the gas and felt the nose lift just a little. This truck became the backbone of America, and once it took the crown, it never gave it back. But Ford wasn't alone. Chevrolet answered with the CK series. And this is where things started to get serious. The square-body Chevy trucks of the 80s became instant icons. There was something about their proportions that just felt right. Wide stance, tall hood, and a grille that looked like it meant business. Underneath, these trucks were simple, almost stubbornly so. Carbureted V8 engines, solid axles, leaf springs. Nothing fancy, but everything strong. Farmers trusted them. Contractors abused them. Teenagers dreamed about them. Even today, these trucks are everywhere, restored, modified, or are still working hard with faded paint and a million stories baked into the metal. Then there was Dodge, the brand that decided subtlety was overrated. When the Dodge Ram finally stepped out of the shadows later in the decade, it brought an attitude shift. Even before the radical redesign of the 90s, Dodge trucks in the 80s carried a rough, no-nonsense personality. They weren't the most refined. They weren't the quietest. But they felt tough in a way that was impossible to fake. You drove a Dodge truck because you wanted people to know you didn't care what anyone thought. As the decade rolled on, something else happened. Trucks stopped being just rural machines. They started showing up in cities, suburbs, and even pop culture. The Chevrolet Silverado trim packages turned work trucks into something you could actually show off. Power windows, nicer interiors, upgraded suspensions. It was the beginning of the lifestyle truck, and people loved it. You could haul lumber during the day and cruise Main Street at night without changing vehicles. That idea exploded in the 80s, and it never went away. And then came the off-road obsession. America discovered dirt in a whole new way. The Ford Bronco, built on truck DNA, became a rolling symbol of adventure. Short wheelbase, removable top, and engines that sounded alive. This was the truck you took where roads ended. Mud, sand, rocks, snow, it didn't matter. You didn't just drive a Bronco. You escaped in it. And when people saw one roll by, lifted with chunky tires, they didn't just see a vehicle. They saw freedom. Chevrolet fired back with the Blazer, and suddenly off-road wasn't just functional. It was cool. The Blazer looked sharp, felt solid, and carried that unmistakable Chevy V8 rumble. It became the truck you saw at the beach, in the mountains, and parked outside high schools with the rear window down and music blasting. These trucks weren't quiet rebels. They were loud, proud, and unapologetically American. But if you really wanted something wild, something that looked like it belonged in a movie chase scene, the GMC Sierra stepped in. It shared bones with Chevy, but GMC leaned harder into boldness. Heavier trim, stronger presence, and a feeling that this truck meant business. It wasn't just a pickup. It was a statement. And in the 80s, statements mattered. By the middle of the decade, trucks were everywhere. Construction sites, highways, television shows, and driveways. They were becoming symbols of identity. You weren't just a driver anymore. You were a Ford guy or a Chevy guy, and those loyalties ran deep. Arguments over tailgates lasted longer than family dinners. Because these trucks weren't just machines. They were personal, and just when you thought trucks couldn't get any more extreme, the 80s proved everyone wrong. Bigger engines, louder exhausts, taller suspensions, custom paint. This was the era when excess wasn't a flaw. It was the goal. And the trucks that embraced that mindset became legends. But here's the thing. We're only halfway through. Because the next set of trucks didn't just ride the wave of the 80s. They pushed it even further. Some became cult classics. Some changed truck design forever. And one shocked the entire industry in a way nobody saw coming. Take a breath, because what comes next is where the 80s really let loose. By the late 1980s, American trucks had crossed a line. They were no longer just vehicles you owned. They were vehicles that represented who you were. And some of the most unforgettable machines of the decade were still waiting to make their mark. One of them came from a name people didn't expect to dominate the truck world. Jeep. When the Jeep J-Series pickups rolled through the 80s, they carried pure off-road DNA straight into the pickup segment. These trucks felt different the moment you sat behind the wheel. Shorter, tighter, more aggressive. They weren't built for smooth highways. They were built for places where pavement simply gave up. Solid axles, tough frames, and engines that didn't complain when the terrain got ugly. You didn't baby a Jeep truck. You challenged it. And somehow, it always asked for more. Then there was Toyota, quietly changing the rules. While American trucks were going bigger and louder, Toyota focused on reliability and toughness. The Toyota pickup of the 80s earned a reputation that bordered on legendary. These trucks refused to die. You could overload them, abuse them, neglect them, and somehow they'd still fire up. They weren't the most powerful, but they were fearless. Contractors trusted them. Adventurers loved them. And years later, people would still talk about how these trucks just kept going when everything else gave up. But America still craved size and strength, and that hunger gave rise to something bold. The Ford Bronco 2 arrived smaller than its big brother, but packed with attitude. It was compact, boxy, and unapologetically aggressive. It felt like a street-legal toy for grown adults who wanted adventure without limits. It wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. It captured the spirit of the decade. Loud colors, squared edges, and a sense that rules were optional. Meanwhile, Chevrolet was refining its dominance. The square body platform kept evolving, and by the late 80s, it had reached near mythical status. These trucks were everywhere. On farms, in cities, in movies, and in memories. They were customized endlessly. Lifted, lowered, painted, rusted, restored. No matter what happened to them, they never stopped being recognizable. One glance and you knew exactly what you were looking at. That kind of design doesn't happen by accident. And then came the trucks built purely to flex. Performance packages started creeping in. Bigger engines, sharper suspension setups, exhaust notes that turned heads before the truck even appeared. These machines weren't subtle. They were rolling declarations of confidence. The 80s didn't believe in quiet success. It believed in showing up loud and proud. Somewhere in the middle of all this, trucks began crossing into entertainment. Television shows, action movies, commercials. A pickup parked on screen suddenly meant something. It meant toughness, independence, grit. When a hero drove a truck, you believed it. Because trucks had already earned that reputation in real life, and just when the decade seemed to peak, Dodge delivered something that hinted at the future. Late 80s Ram designs started shifting toward bolder shapes, stronger faces, and a presence that demanded attention. It wasn't the full revolution yet, but you could feel it coming. Dodge was about to rewrite the truck rulebook, and the 80s laid the groundwork. What made these trucks truly special wasn't just steel and horsepower. It was the era itself. This was a time before computers took over dashboards, before driver assists and digital screens. These trucks were mechanical, raw, and honest. You felt everything. The engine vibration, the road texture, the weight of the machine responding to your hands. Driving one wasn't passive. It was a conversation between you and the truck dot, and that's why so many of them are still alive today. Not just running, but loved. Restored in garages, passed down through families, talked about with a smile and a shake of the head. People don't just remember these trucks. They miss them because the 80s trucks didn't apologize. They didn't try to please everyone. They were bold in a way modern vehicles rarely are. They took risks. Some worked, some didn't, but all of them left a mark. Looking back now, it's clear. These weren't just machines from another decade. They were milestones. They shaped the pickups we drive today. They taught manufacturers what people truly wanted: strength, character, identity dog. And now I want to know something from you. Which one of these trucks surprised you the most? Which one do you think truly owned the 80s? And if you could bring just one of them back, exactly as it was, which keys would you grab first? Because legends never really disappear. They just wait for someone to remember them.